Well, a lot of people have heard my father and me talk about the metaphors at the conference for many years, and some of you have actually taken the metaphors workshop. And we now have over 25 touch for health instructors just in the United States who are teaching the metaphors. But some of us haven't gone through the whole metaphors and metaphor instructor training. So let me say a little bit about it. So this is something I've been teaching since 2003 all over the world, and I've had a really great time sharing it. And so it's something that came up originally as a little bit of a humorous pun that my father did when you were doing the psoas muscle. It looked like a kicking motion, and he would say something like, oh, well, if the muscle's out of balance, you must have some trouble with kicking. What does kicking mean to you? Is someone kicking you, or do you want to kick yourself? And people found that so interesting. They started taking notes on that. And eventually we came up with a set of metaphor questions for all 111 metaphors in Touch for Health, meaning 42 muscles, 14 meridians, and 55 associations with the 5 elements. So we have a lot of different metaphors that we can play with during the balance, but it turns out not only is it amusing and interesting to people, but it gives them new insights as to what might be going on in their lives by looking at it at a new, different angle. And so many people who take this workshop find it really rounds out the triangle of health and really adds to the mental, emotional side of the triangle of health. And it makes it feel like a more complete process. We can bring in partly with the goal setting, so listening to people and knowing what's bugging them, what might be pains, but also what is it helping them more in depth to work towards a positive goal. But then continuing the dialogue and going deeper into the meanings of their imbalances, their aches and pains, and what might be involved in being able to reach their goals, or what might be interfering with their goals. And metaphor has so many different interpretations. We have a really fun time working creatively with the groups in the workshop. So it's a very creative participatory workshop where we get a lot of brainstorming from the people in the workshop and different views. So every time we do the workshop, it's a little different based on who's there. We get into what are the big ideas of Touch for Health, what are the big concepts that inspire us and give us a lot of ideas of what it is that we're trying to accomplish in our community with Touch for Health. We get into the fact that if you're working with metaphors that are sensory images that inspire an image, but also an emotion, that we are actually talking the emotional language, which is the language of the body, the language of the gut. So in Germany, after I taught there once and I came back, they actually changed the subtitle of the workshop to Touch for Health Metaphors, How to Go Deep Fast. And so the fact is, if we're working with metaphor and we're automatically bringing up with the emotional resonance with what's going on in your life, it does go deep fast. In a simple way, it has a deep, profound effect. And then also, the language of the subconscious, the language of the body, even the language of your dreams tends to be more emotional, more metaphorical, rather than the conscious language-based understanding. The body language is more that emotional and symbolic language. So we're speaking the language of our body and our unconscious, and by just bringing in metaphors, we're balancing the conscious and the unconscious together, and that leads to a very powerful balance. And so also, going through the muscle ranges of motion, sometimes we talk about body listening or just listening to the body, and it's amazing sometimes just by taking a moment to use the muscle test or just going through the muscle range of motion as kind of a mini meditation, you might find that you get a mini enlightenment through considering the metaphor of just your actual physical sensation. So those are some of the things that we get into and play with based on your skills of 14 muscles in level 1 and the 1-point balance of the wheel and the 5 elements from level 2. So it also serves as a nice balance and consolidations of our basic skills of 1 and 2, and then expands into symbolic meaning and the emotional part. So that's kind of some of the things that you might enjoy if you come along to the metaphor workshop. And then the metaphor instructor training, of course, it's oriented to instructors who want to teach that 2-day workshop. But anyone who's had Touch for Health level 1 and 2 and the metaphor workshop can continue on to the metaphor training if they just want to deepen their knowledge and deepen their practice and get some more advanced practice in working on goal setting and balancing. And we work together in small groups as we practice so that we can observe each other and give feedback, so we can really become more aware of our techniques, where are our strong points, where are some places where we can develop based on other people's examples and what feedback we get from the group. And those who aren't instructors yet can go through our assessment process and receive a certificate of proficiency in goal setting and metaphor. And that might be valuable in particular to practitioners who like to have some evidence of their competence to include that in their scope of practice. So that's what the metaphor instructor training is about.